guys, and welcome to Ask Tom episode 5. Today, rather than answering a specific reader question, I'm going to be talking about iteration and Kaizen, which are two really important blogging techniques that I like to use, and these should helpfully answer a few more general questions that I've been getting in my inbox. Okay, so we're going to look at it in 4 main parts today. Firstly, we'll look at iteration and Kaizen, exactly what they are and how they can help your blog. Then we'll look at Facebook as a great example of iteration and how this has helped them stay as the #1 social networking site on the web. We'll then look at reasons to iterate, as well as several ways that you can iterate your blog, as well as my ultimate tip for iteration. So when you're trying to define iteration and Kaizen, I'm not going to throw some dictionary definitions at you today. I'm going to talk about them in terms of how it can help with your own blogging. So first of all, iteration. I view iteration as little steps of improvement. So rather than trying to totally overhaul your blog or totally, be a game changer or anything like that, iteration is all about doing little incremental improvements on your website to try and improve it over time. And this in turn makes it a lot more manageable. So you don't need to look at it as some vast project. It can just be tweaking little things here and there. And then I always like to say, in a year's time, you're going to look back and realise that your blog is vastly better than it is today. So that's iteration. Kaizen is something I picked up when I was doing business studies years ago, back at high school. And it's a Japanese business philosophy, I think. And how it works is, Kaizen means continuous improvement. So you can see it's very closely linked in with iteration, but slightly different. Iteration is this kind of, little tweaks, whereas Kaizen's more the broader philosophy of continually improving. And you can see straight away how that links into your blogging, because if you're constantly striving to improve, rather than just resting on your laurels and, constantly staying the same level evolving, if you're using Kaizen along with iteration, you can really push your blog forward to the next level. So whenever I talk about iteration and Kaizen and stuff like that, I always like to give the example of Facebook. A lot of people are obviously familiar with it. I'm sure almost all of you listening have a Facebook profile. And if you've been with Facebook for a while, you will notice that they are pretty much constantly kind of evolving and changing their layout, their user experience, the user interface and stuff like that. Most recently they upgraded to the timeline, and before that we saw several iterations of the wall and various other features that come and go over the years that Facebook have been around. And there's a lot of controversy whenever they make a change. A lot of people get up in arms and you get really popular Facebook groups which are protesting against it and loads of stuff like that. But the underlying important thing about them iterating is that it works. Quite simply, Facebook would probably not be around today if they weren't improving, if they weren't iterating. If they were exactly the same as when they first launched, which some social networks are, they would have just faded away. It's the fact that they're constantly changing and constantly improving, even if it annoys some of their audience. Soon enough people kind of get used to these changes and forget about them anyway. And they're evolving to keep up with new technologies and provide a better user experience. And also, it helps people stop from getting bored. So if they never changed, it would get a little bit boring always using the exact same Facebook, the exact same layout. Whereas these little tweaks and improvements might annoy some of us, but it definitely, it makes it more interesting. You go and check out and play with the new features and come back for more. So when you're talking about the reasons of why you should iterate and why you should improve, first of all, by definition, you are improving. That in itself is a reason. Of course you want to improve your blog. But we can break this down a little bit more. So you can talk about improving your blog's layout and the overall user experience. So you can tweak your layout and it might be a better navigation area or better formatted content or text or whatever it is. Tweak your layout, tweak your design, your user experience, and this should in turn bring you better stats. So you kind of work out what isn't working and what is working, tweak it, and then you should get more page views per user, you should get higher time on site, lower bounce rate, all these kind of stats that every blogger cares about. Tweaking your site should help improve your stats. Secondly, it shows you care. If you're shown to take the time and effort to tweak your blog, improve your users and your readers' experiences, it shows that you actually care, you're willing to invest a bit of time and money in your blog to try and help your readership. So that's a good thing. Thirdly, it keeps you on the cutting edge. So this really applies more to like upcoming technologies. Like right now there's a lot of talk about responsive design, HTML5, in the past it was CSS, and the whole point is that as you realign, you should try and keep up with these new technologies, and especially if you're in a blogger talking about technology or design or anything like that, it shows that you are right on the cutting edge, you know what you're doing, and you're on the forefront of quite a small handful of bloggers who are pushing forward these web standards. Final point is that you see a bit of a jump in social media activity, but also your RSS subscribers and newsletter subscribers. Whenever you typically release a redesign or a realign or whatever it is, you typically see this jump because people are excited, your site looks glossy and new and people are talking about it, and it is quite a good way to boost subscribers and boost your traffic in the short term. So if we're talking about how to iterate, I think you can iterate in almost every single aspect of blogging. So typically people will think about a redesign, which is great. That's probably one of the main ways that you can iterate and can improve your site. If you give it a complete overhaul, a complete redesign, like I say, you will get more subscribers, you're going to improve your stats, hopefully improve your readers' engagement, all these great things. But that is only one way to iterate your blog. You can also realign, which some of you might not be as familiar with. And realigning is basically redesigning but specific elements of your blog, or redesigning on a very small scale. So instead of giving your blog a totally new page design and overhauling the entire thing, you might add something to your blog sidebar, or just take something out of your header, or change the colour of your links, or some small change like that. And these are typically easier. You don't need to go away and pay a developer thousands to tweak your blog. Often you can do it yourself, even if you're not a coder. But they're what make the biggest difference a lot of the time, actually. Like I said earlier, in a year's time, if you look back, if you're tweaking 3 or 4 things with your blog every single month, then it is going to continually get these little improvements, and in a year's time, you're going to have dozens of improvements, whereas if you just left it, your blog would be pretty stagnant and just remain the same. It's not just about design though, when you're talking about improvement. You can also improve your content, so constantly monitor what content is attracting the most traffic, the most comments, reader engagement and stuff like that. And you want to push forward the popular content on your blog and the quality content, work out the most unpopular content, maybe strip that back, do it less or take it out entirely, and just tweak your content over time and work to improve it and give your readers what they really want to be reading from you. Also, you can extend improvement and iteration to pretty much everything else, like I said. So it could be your email marketing. You could set up an autoresponder if you haven't already set one up, and send out automated newsletter tips or emails to your audience. Great way to keep people engaged. If you already have an autoresponder, again, you can tweak it. You can realign it, maybe play with the newsletter design, or just improve the wording on a few emails. All these little improvements will really add up over time. Also, social media, another thing you can tweak and improve all the time. Whether it's going on your Twitter page and changing the background or the description under your name, or just maybe the amount you're tweeting each day or what you're tweeting. Any of these strategies, if you just try a few things out, see what works best, but the whole point is you are trying and you are trying to improve, and it should hopefully help boost these profiles up as well. My ultimate tip for trying to iterate and continually improve your blog would be, well, first of all, just do it. Just look for things to improve and do it. But more so than that, keep a diary every month of the improvements that you've made. And if you're really gonna, take this seriously, do what I'm doing right now and make this public on your blog. So at blogs.fanextra, every month I'm posting a diary of my stats, how the site's progressing, how it's growing, but also the main things that I'm trying to do and the main strategies and improvements that I'm integrating into the website. The reason for doing this is not just because it kind of motivates you to keep going, but also it's because you're held to be more accountable. So if you know all your readers are checking out what you're doing every month, you're not going to want to be lazy one month and make no improvements and not do that much work on your site, because they're going to see exactly what you're doing. Whereas if you can reach the end of the month and feel pretty proud of yourself and say, look to your readers and say, I've done this, 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 and made all these great improvements on the blog, they're going to again see that you care, that you're committed to blogging, committed to improving their experience. And it's just the most effective way I can think of to monitor your improvement. And again, in a year's time, go through the archive of these posts and look back and say, oh yeah, I remember 6 months ago making that improvement, and you'll just see how far you can go in your blogging journey and how much better your blog will become because of it. So just to sum up, you definitely should be using iteration and Kaizen as part of your blogging strategy. So iteration is kind of little tweaks and little improvements over time. Kaizen's the Japanese business philosophy of continuous improvement. You should definitely be doing both of these. I looked at the example of Facebook, which is pretty much constantly either tweaking little things or overhauling the wall or the timeline or whatever part of their layout. And they ignore a lot of the time when users get upset, because they realise that in order to be successful and continue to be number one, they need to continually improve and try out these new things. Then I talked about the reasons to iterate, which there are a lot of reasons, but the main ones are to improve the user experience, which in turn improves your stats, your page views, your time on site, stuff like that. It shows you care, shows you're committed to your blog. It's a good thing to portray to your readers. It keeps you on the cutting edge with technology, so you're going to be mobile friendly, you're going to be using HTML5, CSS, whatever it is, stay on the cutting edge whenever possible. Also you get a nice little short-term jump in subscribers normally if you redesign or have a big improvement or iteration like that. I also talked about ways to iterate. There's the full overhaul, the big redesign of your blog. There's little tweaks, which I like to call realigning. There's altering and tweaking your content, also your social media strategy, email marketing, and you get the idea. Pretty much every element of blogging you can work on, you can learn more. I recommend you buy books, read free ebooks, constantly try and learn new information, and then actually use this, put it into action, tweak your blog, improve your blog constantly. And then my final tip is keep a monthly diary. If possible, make this public. It helps keep you more accountable, which in turn, kind of spurs you on to keep tweaking and improving your blog. But just lay out in detail every month, say, this is exactly what I've done to improve my blog. And then remember my main point, in a year's time, you will be amazed at how much better your blog is, even if it's just tiny little things every month. They do add up. I really, really hope that helps, guys. I know I've crammed quite a lot in today, but yeah, I hope it helps. If you've got any questions at all about any aspect of blogging, just leave a comment below this video or in this blog post, and I'll answer your question in an upcoming week. Thanks.